This is Blaine Greenfield, and we're here at Asheville Community Theatre for a special version of the Blaine's World show on WPVM. We call it the On the Road version, and we're with Mark Jones, who's with ACT, and we'll have him introduce himself in just a second. And as you can see, we're at Asheville Community Theatre, but we're in the, what is this, Mark? The bottom of Asheville?
This is what used to be the, the woodworking area, the set building area. Now it is an all-purpose, multi-purpose room for rehearsals and things like that. So it's brand spanking new, organized, and cleaned.
It looks great. Anyway, it's a real pleasure to be here with you, Mark, because I've been trying to get you on the show for the last couple of years. And Mark, I should mention, is a actor, he's a director, he's a teacher, you name it. I think you've done it in theater. You've done just about everything else?
I have. I've run light boards, I've worked backstage, I've helped with costumes. I like to be a well-rounded theater person because I feel like it makes me a better director and actor if I've done everything else.
And one of the first questions, Mark, I always like asking my guests has to do with you as a performer. And do you remember the very first thing you were ever in?
Well, in third grade,
do you remember
I was in a show called A Chew, The Mouse That Saved Christmas.
Okay. And
that was my first musical. I do remember it. I even actually, when my elementary school was torn down, I knew the person that used to work in the library and work back there, and they had the scripts still. So she gave me one of them, so I still have it.
Well, I want you to keep that in mind, because let me ask you, did they have videotape of that?
No.
Okay, because here's an idea, and you're the one to share the idea with. I've shared it with other people. But I think we should do it as a fundraiser for ACT or some other theater. Everybody would do their very first role. You know, you do the 5 minutes, and then we could videotape it. Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be fun. I only remember one part of it. It sticks in my head. And it was a song called "I Am So Blue," and because it was a mouse that was allergic to cheese, and he would sneeze every time cheese came along, which all the other mice made fun of him, until the day when Santa Claus was coming down the chimneys, and there was an evil cat that was going to light fires in all of the fireplaces so that Santa Claus could not come. So here comes a Chew, who puts cheese in front of his nose and he sneezes out the fires to save Christmas.
I can't believe you still remember that.
I do, and I remember there was one little section of a song that went, "I am so blue, blue-be-doo, doo-be-doo." It was just like a silly song.
Well, what's so cool about that is that you even have the script. You know?
Yes, I do.
But think about that. I really want to do that someday. Just everybody would do their first 5 minutes or their first role. So that was in third grade. What motivated you to get into that? Did somebody ask you or you folks?
Well, growing up, my uncle had done some theater when he was in high school. And so we had photographs and things like that. And I just every time I went to visit my grandparents, my aunt, who was only 9 years older than her and I would talk about my uncle doing theater, and he had played Schroeder in Your Good Man Charlie Brown, and he's also a classical pianist now with PhD and all that jazz. So music has always been a part of our family through him. And then basically just going and doing that, and then my mom bought some, back when they used to have the movie clubs where you got VHS videos,
right, yeah.
So many a month. Well, the first ones she got were The Unsinkable Molly Brown with Debbie Reynolds.
One of my all-time favorite movies.
Love that movie. And Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Another one of my favorites.
Which I watched those movies non-stop. I loved them. And of course, Wizard of Oz came on every year. Sound of Music every year on television. I don't know what it was about that sucked me into musical theater, but I loved it.
Well, the first 2 shows you mentioned, I haven't seen them done locally,
No. Well, Seven Brides is a hard one to do.
I would imagine.
Because you have to have 14 men.
Right.
Not just 7, but 14, because all the suitors have to be there as well. I did that show in 1991. We used to have the Buncombe County Parks and Rec would do summer theater with all the high schools in the area, which they don't do anymore, and I wish they did because it was a wonderful way to meet kids from other schools. Of course, we now have ACT where kids from all across the county come and do theater in our educational classes. But this was a summer show, free to anyone that wanted to audition, and we did Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. I played Brother Ephraim, and I met some really, really nice people doing that, and we're still friends today, like Katie Caspin was in that show. So it was just kind of fun. Chris Allison was in that show. So a lot of really talented people in the community came out of that production.
And also I've seen Unsinkable Molly Brown.
Yeah, that one's actually getting ready to come back. They are working on a revival right now in Colorado as we speak that I think is heading towards Broadway. They've rewritten the script. Dick Scanlon, who worked on Thoroughly Modern Millie, who also directed the production of Little Shop Concert that had Ellen Greene and Jake Gyllenhaal, and Susan Stroman, Kathleen Marshall, I got their names wrong, is directing and choreographing it. And I'm looking forward to that revival because the script has always been really bad in that show. It's been more about fun and less about the story of Molly Brown. So I think they're rewriting it and adding some more songs from Meredith Wilson's trunk of unused music.
And what'll be fun is that hopefully then 3 years afterward we'll get it at ACT or some other place.
And I mean, Molly Brown has always been a great show in the sense of who Molly Brown was. I mean, the Me Too movement and the women, lib, and Molly Brown always stood up for who she was and didn't let a man tell her what to do or didn't let anyone tell her what to do. And she went down in history as being the Titanic story, rallying those boats and saving her boat, but it's just got great music in it. I love the Molly Brown musical.
Move past third grade then, we got sidetracked, sorry about that, to then your junior high school performing days. Were you still performing or kept performing?
I did not perform again except in chorus from third grade until freshman year of high school. I was in the choral stuff, but we did Grease my freshman year of high school at Inca. And it was the first musical Inca had done in a really, if ever, I don't think they've ever done a musical. But I played Duty, and I have a video of that. Yes, there is a whole video. It's actually on YouTube. The entire show is on YouTube to remind me of how not ready for theater I was.
Well, it's pretty cool though. You were just in ninth grade then.
Correct. And I had not learned to perform. I had not learned. But I loved it. We had a blast doing it. Everyone there it was so much fun. And then sophomore year we did Once Upon a Mattress. Junior year I did Oklahoma, and then senior year we didn't do a musical. But that's okay. At that point I had already branched out into Tanglewood Children's Theater, which at the time was at UNCA. So I was doing shows there in addition to high school stuff.
What was your role in Oklahoma?
Oh, I was Slim the Cowhand.
Really?
But I will say
typecasting.
There was nothing in Oklahoma that I really could play or wanted to play at that time, and I decided I wanted to design the set and assistant direct it. So I was given the opportunity by my wonderful drama teacher, Wendy Bell, to, in a sense, kind of direct the show, because I helped her do that, and so a lot of things that I did were in the show. So it was kind of my first directorial. And
I think that's kind of interesting, Mark, that you do that. I think it's to your credit that you were saying before, too. You've done a little bit of everything in almost every theater. I guess it's helpful for all people to have that experience if they're in theater.
I think so. I mean, like I said, it makes you even as an actor, it makes you more well-rounded if you have worked in the wings, if you have helped with props or you have helped with costumes, because you're more aware of what those people do. And you don't think of them as being beneath you or under you or any way, shape, or form. Everyone is there to create a show.
Because you read an interesting article, I think I posted on Facebook too, about that everybody should also be the stage manager at some point in time. Because if you're the stage manager, these people really work hard.
I've had some really good stage managers in the past, and I'm, I love to be able to not have to do anything except direct, and have them handle all of the who's late, who's
Right.
not going to be there at all, all the notes, all the things, because I don't write blocking down. I direct, and I don't.
But it really makes you appreciate these
It
people.
does.
I mean, boy,
It does.
they work hard. So again, I've never heard the Mark Jones story. So we go from college, or we go from high school to the Tanglewood you mentioned.
Yes.
What else did you do then after that?
From that point on, I came to ACT in 1992, which was the year I graduated from high school. That summer, right after graduation, I auditioned for Camelot and was in the chorus of Camelot, and then basically spent the next 8 years doing shows here. I got some of my first lead roles. I went from ensemble to supporting role in My Fair Lady as Freddie Eynsford Hill, and then that same season I was Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors.
Was that your first leading role?
That was my first leading role in what I consider to be, a 3-weekend, 4-weekend run, and it was fun. And then I just kept doing it.
You said for 8 years, but then you've been here ever since too, though, where you took a break.
Well, I actually lived in Richmond, Virginia from 2001 to 2004.
Okay.
I had reached a point here because I was doing not only ACT, but I had done a couple of things at Warren Wilson College as a guest artist because my uncle's college roommate, Steve Williams, who just recently passed away, he's such a great loss in this area music-wise and as a person. He was the music teacher at Warren Wilson College, and whenever they did musicals, he called me and said, "Hey, would you come audition for this show? Because we like to have community people sometimes when we don't have someone in the college that can do it." So, like Janet Oliver and I did Into the Woods out there. I did Cabaret out there, which was the last show I did in Asheville before I moved away.
So then you were away for a couple of years.
I was in Virginia for 3 years,
Right.
where I went up there and did theater.
Yeah.
And started getting paid, which was nice.
Can you imagine?
I know, it was nice. It's wonderful.
So then you came, Asheville was lost, but you came back a couple of years later,
Mhm.
and you've been in Asheville since?
Yes.
Because the thing that always impressed me about you, Mark, is that it seems you've done just about, I don't know if every theater, but you've done a lot of theaters in the Asheville area.
Mhm.
So I know you do a lot of work at Hart also.
Yes.
And you do both things. I know you act and stuff, which I love seeing you as an actor, but you also direct. Question I ask every actor/director: do you have a preference?
Yes. Directing.
It's funny, almost with only one exception, every actor says they prefer directing. Why so?
There's less, I don't want to say there's less pressure, but actors like to be in control. And as an actor, you're not in control. You have
Yeah.
to do what the music director says and what the director says and what the costumer tells you to wear, and even then it's what the director says go, So as an actor, you're kind of only responsible for your own little bubble. And even that you're not that responsible for because you're still being told what to do. When you make a choice, it may not be the right choice, and the director may say, "No, don't do that." As a director, you're in charge of the whole picture. And because I love seeing things in my head and shows in my head, I love to be in charge of the whole picture. I love to be able to guide the set designer the way I want the show to look, guide the costumer the way I want the show to look. I come in with a vision, and everyone's job is to fit into that vision that I have. And that's what I love, because as a kid, I was always creating shows. I'd go in the backyard and create a show out of cardboard, and and so now as an adult I can do that.
Put you on the spot. Aside from the current show you're directing, do you have another show that was your favorite to direct, or one? A couple.
It's
of
a
them.
toss-up.
Right.
My two favorite shows, and not that any of them are not my favorite, I love everything I've done, but my two shows that I would do again and again and again and again if I had the opportunity, and do them differently every time, were Seussical
Okay, loved it. Yeah.
and the Great American Trailer Park Musical.
And it's funny because neither of them I had really known. That they were
Right.
classic Broadway shows. But Seussical, talk a little bit about that one. That was just a fun show to watch.
Seussical is just, it's such a sweet show. And it was one of those, lightning in a bottle type moments. where you have a cast that is just 100% in it from the get-go. There's no there's no issues, there's no drama backstage, it was just one of those, like, this is amazing. And it's such a sweet little show. I mean, Dr. Seuss writes some amazing stuff, but then when you put, the story of Horton, who represents all of us, with his travels and his stories, it's just, I don't know, it was just a great little show that I think the people needed at the time that it came.
And it's funny because I hate to admit it, but I'm not a big Dr. Seuss fan, but I love that show.
Yeah.
It's just, you found Trissa King from somewhere.
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
Colby.
Colby.
Just
And it's just
really
a show
good.
that, like, I love when I get a show that has no preconceived notion.
Right.
Where I can kind of hit the ground running with whatever I want to do, with the vision. When, Ida, the costumer, came to me, we had the exact same idea, even though we had not discussed it, to set it in the 50s and have costumes look like the 1950s style. And then I just love a show that allows me to be creative, that doesn't have, like, this is how the show has to be done because people expect it. Seussical has nothing like that.
Right. Well, you also did it too with the other show you mentioned, No Preconceived Notions, because I didn't know it, but you were directing it, so I was going to see it, and that was kind of an interesting show to do too.
That show was just fun because it was nice to finally get to do a show that was raunchy and funny and had a lot of heart to it. The story, even though it was silly, the cast was a lot of fun. The music was fun. We just had a blast just letting everything fly, And I think the audiences, it brought a bunch of people into the theater that had never come to the theater before, because they had heard about, the beer drinking and the, partying and the cuss words and the, it was just,
It was
just
also
fun.
a perfect North Carolina play to do
Oh yeah,
too.
oh yeah.
But it's real fun, Mark. Like you said, that when I go to a show and have no preconceived notion of it because I didn't know the show, flip it before we talk about the current show and talk about you as a performer. Again,
Okay.
I think I've seen just about everything you've done. A couple favorite roles.
Oh my goodness. Well, I've done cabaret 3 times. I have played the MC twice, and then in the most recent ACT production, I was Cliff. So I have played it from both sides of the coin.
Is that fun?
It is. And I'd have to say that both roles were equally entertaining and good for me. Cliff was a little hard because it was a little close to home in just me as a person. But you have to, as an actor, you have to just kind of use what you have to create your roles, because every role is a part of you in some way, shape, or form. Even the crazy MC, But I did a show with Bradshaw called "The Story of My Life,"
Oh, wow.
which was one of my favorites.
I told you I want you guys to do it again.
Yeah, we do. It's just a matter of finding the time and the energy to do it.
No preconceived. I had never heard the
Yeah.
show, but boy, I love that.
It's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
And then John and Jen, I've done that
Yeah.
show twice. I would probably, the next time I do it, it'll be directing it, not doing it, because I'm too old to play the role anymore. But
I'll give you 2 of my favorites too. Trying to think, the Addams Family.
oh, well, that's a role that I would do. Lurch is a role that I would do over and over and over, because it was so freeing to not have dialogue, to just be able to, with makeup, make myself unrecognizable, and just go on stage and just be.
Oh, but you hit it.
You know?
Though. It's so much fun, And like you said, almost unrecognizable, and all of a sudden, at the very end, great performance. And then the other one too, my one-line show, A Young Frankenstein, where you operated on me. Boy, I thought that was a fun show.
That was a role that I never thought I would play, but I had fun doing. It was a lot of work. That show was a lot of work. Being the straight man and being on stage almost the entire show without stopping was exhausting. But it was a fun role, and I probably would do it again,
Like I said, big role. Good job. Let's now move to the current show you're going to be directing, you are directing, and I'm going to, I think, see it next week or the week after. What's that show, Mark?
The Fantastics.
Okay, and that's right now, by the way, it's going to be here at Asheville Community Theatre. When does that open?
It opens on Friday, February 7th, and runs through Sunday, March 1st. So 4 weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday and Saturday nights at 7:30, Sundays at 2, I think, 2:30. And then the last 2 weekends are our Thursday night shows as well. And the Thursday night shows are a little cheaper than the Friday, Saturday, Sunday shows.
And for the benefit of the few people, I guess there are a lot of people out there who don't know the story of the Fantastics. Reader's Digest version.
Oh my gosh, this show is so hard to describe. It came out in the 60s.
Right.
It is a love story about a boy and girl who have been forbidden to be together because their parents are feuding. Their fathers, I should say, are feuding. There are no mothers in the story. We don't know where the mothers are and what happened to the mothers. They never talk about it. It's like a Disney movie where they all have dads, but they all have moms, and we don't know why. But the dads are feuding, and they have built a wall between their houses so that the kids can't communicate with each other. But the kids still find a way to talk and fall in love with each other. So that's what's going on when the show starts. But it's about love. It's about fear. It's about forgiveness. It's about the loss of innocence. There are so many things that go on in there, so many themes, but it's so hard to describe the story without giving away the plot, even without giving away the ending.
Right. Well, we won't give away the ending. But that's, again, kind of, I'm looking forward to it because I haven't seen it. I just think somebody else did it in the area, but I haven't seen it.
Well, ACT hasn't done it since 1998.
Yeah, which is...
as a matter of fact, I was in that production. I played the boy in that production. And so it's kind of fun to come back to it now as a director.
Well, that's why they had to get you as director, because you couldn't play the boy again.
No, I could play the father. I am old enough to play the dad now, but although our dads are a little bit older than I am. But it's a full circle. I've had a couple of shows that I've done full circle where I was in it. Both at ACT, actually. I was Seymour and Little Shop in 96, and then I directed it here in 2010.
That must be a lot of fun, isn't it?
And now I'm going down the list of shows that I've done. So like, what's next for me to direct that I've been in?
Talk about then back to the Fantastics. I think you also have a fantastic cast. We'll talk about. But one of the interesting things about it is that I know some of them, but I don't know all the people because you brought in some new people.
Yes.
I guess to ACT.
There are
talk a little bit about some of the cast.
There are a lot of new people. We have some regulars. We have Dylan Giles, who's been in Footloose and Wizard of Oz. We have Emily Brookshire, who has been in the ensemble of a lot of shows, Wizard, Footloose. But this is her first lead role at ACT, so we're very excited to have her as the girl. Alex Daly is back. He was in Peter and the Starcatchers and also in Red and 35 Below, but now he's back as the boy, so we're very happy to have him back in Asheville. But then we've got both of the fathers are new actors. They've never been on the ACT stage before. Stan Reilly and Brian Weber. The ensemble, the mutes, I should say. We call them mutes. There's only one in the original production, but I've added 6. Some of those people have been on stage before. Some have been in the wings, but never on stage. So I've got a couple of people that have been working backstage. Carson, who was in Seussical with me, is back in one of the mute roles, and it's just fun. I would say about half the cast is brand new,
which is kind of, I think, cool. That I don't think, but ACT tries to do that.
Yes.
Bring in people, so you don't have the same people all the time.
Exactly.
Again, I think one of the cool things you do, Mark, too, is you put together these great teams. So it's not just you, but talk a little bit about the choreography and also the music.
Yeah. Well, choreographer Jessica Garland Lowe. She just got married, so we're still using the Garland in there, but it's actually Lowe now. She has been my choreographer for a lot of shows in the recent past, and as a matter of fact, in the future, we're getting ready to do a show in the fall. But she's my choreographer, and there's not a lot of choreography in the Fantastics, so we brought her on because I wanted to add more movement and more choreography into the show than what was originally there. Having those 6 mutes created, the opportunity to add a little more depth
That's
to
why you
it.
said that, because I do remember the last time I saw the show, maybe 20 years ago, kind of static, for
Yeah.
the most part.
Well, it's not
Oh,
anymore.
that's
We've
great.
got some movement in it. Some diehards might make that like, what did you do to this show? And then some people, there are a lot of people that don't know the show, so it's going to be their first, introduction to the show.
And the music.
And the music director, Rob Blackwell. I've only worked with him before in actor music director. He was our music director for the Full Monty. I loved working with him. I was excited that he wanted to be the music director because he's so talented and he knows exactly what he's doing. And he's done a really good job. This music is hard. So if you come to see the show, please watch the orchestra. Give them kudos because they are playing a very, very hard score.
Again, one of the great things I think about ACT, I have a personal hang-up on this, but I love live music, know. And I guess because of finances or other reasons, some of the other local theaters now are starting to do just tracks.
Yes.
But I don't know about how you feel, but if I have a choice, I'd love to see
live music is always better, and we have had this discussion because theaters are looking at doing the tracks because it is cheaper to have a fully orchestrated show in a computer where you just push a button. But a lot of us have made the decision that we would rather have 4 pieces of live music, even if it doesn't sound as full as a full orchestra, than a taped recording.
I agree with you completely. And the example, and you were involved in it, reminds me of stuff you do at 35 Below, and the one you mentioned with Kelly, you just had you had a keyboard.
We did.
And to me, that sounds so much better. I love
It's
just the keyboard.
nonsense was just a keyboard. I mean, there's no reason
that's
why you
right.
can't just do a piano. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, live music is so much better. This one is definitely live. The band is actually on stage. You
Oh, is it?
will
I was
not.
going to ask
They
you.
are not in the pit. You will physically see them. They're 4 pieces. We have 2 wind instruments, percussion and piano. And the show was originally only piano and harp.
Right.
But harps, we just don't have a harpist right now. But you will see them physically on stage. So there's no question in your mind that they're live.
That's really cool because
You know?
very rarely do you see them on stage, or even ACT usually has them in the pit, which you don't see. So it should be fun. So let's just remind folks then, if they want to see the Fantastics at Asheville Community Theatre, the dates, Mark?
February 7th through March 1st on
Okay.
the weekends.
And the best bet to get tickets, just go to the website, is
AshevilleTheatre.org, and that is theater spelled Theatre.
the correct way.
The correct way, yes. Well, theater, ER is a building,
Right.
RE is a group.
Even though the
So,
building now, some people are using the building RE.
I think so. It's
just
weird.
easy.
It's one of those but it is AshevilleTheatre.org. And then, of course, on the webpage, you'll see the actual where you can find the tickets for the show. It usually pops up the Fantastics right on the first page.
And
You
you'll-
can also call the number, but it's easier just to go online and do it.
And you can also check the Facebook page.
Yes.
It's a very good Facebook page. And you can also check Mark Jones' Facebook page. You'll find out a lot.
You
more
can. I
information.
have. If you're friends with me, I post it pretty regularly. So
to your credit, it's funny, and I give you credit for it. What bothers me sometimes is that other actors and directors don't post stuff enough. I would think you should be proud of what you're in and invite people to see it. And lastly, what's on in the future for Mark Jones? What can we look forward to?
well, for me, after the Fantastics, I take a short little break, and then in May, and now the dates are kind of, I think it's
Just
May
in May.
8th through, it's 3 weekends in May. I'm doing Miss Gulch Returns in 35 Below, and that's me as an actor. It's a one-man show.
Exactly.
It's a man playing a woman, but it's a one-man show about Miss Gulch from The Wizard of Oz.
I saw it years ago. They did it here.
They did it here, and yes, and it was a huge success. So, and they did it the exact same year they did Wizard of Oz then as well. So we're kind of doing the bookend to Wizard of Oz with Miss Gulch, her story.
And boy, that's a challenging role too.
It is. It's fun, and it's it's one of those. It's a show, but it's more of an evening with drinks and like you're sitting in a bar with this person and they're telling you their story, and it's funny. I love it. I can't wait to do it. I've got Miles Rice directing it,
Oh,
Sarah
really?
Fowler doing
Oh,
music
wow,
for me.
great.
So I think we have a good team. And then right after that, in August, end of August, 1st of September, I will be having Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat at Heart
Okay, great.
in Waynesville.
So it sounds like you're going to be keeping busy.
Yes, and who knows what will happen in between all of those, because there are other things in the works that I may be doing. So
And the other thing I always ask is, to do all this stuff, do they give you a pair of roller skates?
no, but thankfully I have a job now that allows me to work 40 hours a week,
Can you
daytime,
imagine?
and
Yeah.
still be able to do the theater at the night. So I'm very thankful for having finally found, a job that allows me to do the theater, the part-time stuff, which is the theater, which is still full-time, but it's what I consider a part-time job. So
Well, Mark, I'd like to thank you for being my
Thank
guest
you.
on the special on-the-road version of the Blainsville Show on WPVM. Hope people can listen in. I'll be putting it on Facebook Live in just a couple of hours. Also, hopefully catch us on the regular time, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. here on WPVM. And if I can get this going, we'll stop this little technical thing here.